Hello, my name is Darkmoon Doll, and on Mondays, sometimes I like to do something called Monday Morning Rant, but today I wanted to do another basic sewing, hand sewing tutorial. Someone seemed to like it a lot, well more than someone, but a lot of people seem to like it a lot. So I thought I'd do basic hand sewing, I guess, I don't know if you call it a class, more like a tutorial. So what I planned on doing was showing you how to apply a button onto a shirt. Like, you know how sometimes the buttons fall off your shirt, and there's on some shirts they'll have extra buttons sewn on there for that purpose, for that thing that happens. So today what I'm going to be doing is showing you how to sew a button onto this shirt, this fancy psychedelic paisley shirt here. What you want to do first before is like line the buttons up on the shirt already, so you can find out which part of the shirt needs a button. So basically I'm going to do this on my lap because I don't have much space in the room I'm working in. But yeah, you just line up the buttons on your shirt, and that way you can determine where the missing button is. That's the easiest way to do it. And it's a simple hand sewing technique. What I'm going to do next after I line the buttons up is use my seam ripper and take some buttons off of another shirt that has extra buttons on it. This one does not have extra buttons. So I've lined the shirt up by buttoning it down as far as it can go. So what I see is there's one button missing at the very bottom of the shirt. Okay? If you wanted to, you could mark the spot where that one button is missing with a fabric marker, something, anything, a Sharpie, just to line it up. So let me show you. See, like right here is where the button is supposed to go, right here. So you could make a little mark right there so it'll line up with this right here for a button. Okay, so let me show you what I'm going to do with the seam ripper, and show you a seam ripper if you've never seen a seam ripper before. And I'm going to take this shirt and use the seam ripper and remove a button off of there. So this is a seam ripper right here. You can get it at any craft store. You can sometimes get it at grocery stores. You can get it at fabric stores. Yeah, and it helps to take the threads out that are in there really tight in whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever project you have going on. So right here, I'll show you. Some shirts, when they're sold, they have extra buttons. Like this shirt has extra buttons on the bottom in case the shirt runs out, a button pops off. And a lot of button-down shirts will have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the seam ripper, and what I'm going to do, I'll get close up in just a second here. What I'm going to do is just remove the button off of there. And what I want to do, I'll show you, get close with it, if you can see it from here. I just take the seam ripper, the pointy part of the seam ripper, excuse me, and I poke it into the thread where the button is buttoned onto the shirt. And sometimes it's easier said than done because these buttons could be on there pretty tight. If you can't get it on that side, try the underside right here. So you just push the seam ripper through there. It's sewn on there really tight, so, which I'm impressed by. Let's see if I can get this without focusing in the camera so much. Sit down here. Yeah, these are in there tight. Jeez. And this is a shirt that nobody really cares about. So, okay, here's another way. If you can't get it out with a really tight one, tightly sewn in button onto the fabric, just fold it like that to where you can expose the thread on there and dig in there and get it. But watch your fingers because you don't want to poke your fingers. So that's working. And then you can just pull up the button and the thread right there. Hopefully this camera is getting everything that I'm showing you. Voila! Remove the button from the shirt. Pretty simple, right? I mean, fairly simple, because that was sewn on tight. So what you want to do now is get yourself some needle and thread, and if you haven't seen how to thread a needle, go back to my other instructional that I have on how to thread a needle. Uh-oh, wrong container. So yeah, usually when you do buttons, I suggest you use a skinny needle. Thick needles will be hard to go through the standard size button, like a standard size button this size. So yeah, it would be kind of hard to use a thick needle. So what you want to do is get a skinny needle. I'm going to grab a skinny needle with my bag of sewing stuffs. So usually I get needles like this. It's the Singer brand, whatever brand you want to get, and it comes with an assortment of different types of needles in here. And yeah, make sure you keep these needles up, man, because these are a pain in the ass if you step on one. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I'm going to pick out a skinny needle, but with a big hole though, because I don't like the little tiny holes that much. It's hard to see it. So yeah, let's thread this up. I'm not sure how much energy I have on my camera, so if this goes out, you'll know why, and I'll say thank you for everybody for subscribing, liking and sharing my videos, and leaving kind comments now, because yeah, I don't know how long this is going to go, and you get the gist of what I'm doing with sewing a button onto a shirt. Yeah, whenever you lose a button, look on your other shirts and see if your shirts have like extra buttons sewn onto the fabric of the shirt, because they know the buttons come off, and especially if buttons aren't sewn on really good, then they will fall off easily. So I'm threading my needle like I said, and now I'm going to take that button that I took off of the other shirt, see this button, and what I'm basically going to do, it's going to be hard to show you really well, but I'll give you a sampling of what I'm doing. So I'm going to line the button onto the shirt. Let me show you this here. So what I do, see this? I'm lining this button onto this shirt. Now if you want a button that matches more, you can do that. You can go out and buy a button that matches with, say, this button, a clear button. But this is a white button, so it doesn't really matter. But you want to line it, oh shit. You want to line it up onto the fabric where it'll line up with the this here. And I don't know the technical term for this, but where you enclose the button, kind of like the enclosure part right there. See that stitched part? So yeah, you want to do that, and you're going to sew. I'm going to sew that button on to that part, and I'll show you how it looks. It's kind of good to try to get it lined up as much as possible. That way your shirt's not all puckery. So, alright, there we go. Now I can show you, put the camera on there, and show you how I'm going to do this. Let's move this out of the way. And so basically, you see what I'm doing? I put the needle and thread through the button hole, through one button hole. So my camera will focus eventually. And then I come in with the needle and just go underneath it. So let me put this here. This is kind of tricky to do this. But let me pull it up here so you can see it. See that? You just keep sewing it through the buttonholes onto the other side. Uh-oh, button came off. It's alright, sometimes that happens. But you want to line it up really good and sew it into the fabric securely first so it doesn't fall off. So we'll do that. And yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to be on there tight so that it doesn't fall off. Now you saw how that button was that I was sewing. I mean the button that I took off of that other shirt that was sewn on there really tight. A lot of times that's not the case with some clothing. And that's usually with more high-end expensive shirts, button-down shirts, the buttons will be on there, sewn on there better. So here, let me show you what I'm doing. You see that? I'm just sewing it through the holes of the button onto the other side of the fabric. And you could use a thread that matches more closely to the actual design of the shirt. I just happen to have some pink But you keep sewing it, you know, until it's on there tight. That way it doesn't fall off. And you have a button on there that's secure and tight. You just like going in, you're going in and then out and then back this way. So, and you know, these sewing techniques are not so easy to describe. Sometimes it's just helpful just to see it done instead of instructed on how to do it. So yeah, that's a button sewn onto a shirt that needed a button on it. I'm going to continue to sew it to where it's more secure, but I just wanted to show you guys some basic hand sewing basics. Basic. Anybody can do it. Anybody, just be careful when you're handling sharp needles. Make sure you put your needles away when you're done so no family members, you know, cut themselves. So yeah, that's the needle sewn in, a button sewn in to the shirt. And then here's the other side. Other side, it doesn't really matter. I don't care if it looks like all stitchy, and because you're not going to see the other side, you're only going to see one side. So when you button it down, button down the last button, this is the ultimate test to see if you line the button up correctly onto the shirt. So let me, and I'll get the term for what that's called, this enclosure thing for the button. But yeah, so check it out. The button was perfect. It was perfectly lined up because look, you see it? It's on there and it's staying on there. If I wanted to, I could get another button so that it matches more, but I don't mind the white on there. And this is a great shirt. So that's how to sew a button onto a shirt if you lose a button. Remember, search your other button-down colored shirts to see if you have extra buttons sewn on them. Like I showed you, this shirt. Like I said, usually the more expensive shirts will have these extra buttons on there. So you just take them off of it and put it on this shirt that you really like. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for joining me today on this show on basic hand sewing techniques. I hope you found this helpful. And like I said before, because I thought my camera was going to run out of energy, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate everyone who has taken the time out to listen to what I have to say, because I feel like we can all learn together and share our wisdom and our knowledge. Thank you everybody for the kind comments and suggestions.